بدي أعرف عن المتحدثة الثانية اللي هي كاترين لو. هي مساعدة الرئيس التنفيذي لمجلس إدارة المكتبة الوطنية في سنغافورة. هن عندهم مجلس كامل للمكتبات. انضمت للعمل في عام 2015، وقبل ذلك شغلت عدة مناصب في الخدمة العامة في سنغافورة لمدة عقدين من الزمن، وهي تشرف حالياً على تطوير وتشغيل المكتبة الوطنية والأرشيف الوطني، فضلاً عن شبكة من 27 مكتبة عامة. تجتهد كاثرين في مساعدة الناس في الوصول إلى متعة التعلم، وتقود مخطط المكتبة والمحفوظات لعام 2025 لإعادة تشكيل المكتبة الوطنية كسوق تعليمي لدعم مسارات تعلم الأفراد وإثارة الأفكار والإبداعات. تقود كاثرين فريق المكتبة الوطنية لإتاحة موارد القراءة وفرص التعلم لتكون في متناول الجميع، وتحديداً الأطفال من الأسر ذات الدخل المنخفض والأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة. وهي تعتقد أن المكتبات يمكن أن تلعب دوراً أكبر لدعم التعلم مدى الحياة. تحدثنا كاثرين اليوم عن تخطيط المكتبات والترويج للقراءة في العديد هي دائما كاثرين تتحدث عن تخطيط المكتبات والترويج للقراءة في العديد من المؤتمرات الدولية، ما في ذلك ندوة المكتبة المتصلة في وورويك المملكة المتحدة في عام 2019، ومؤتمر جمعية المكتبات الأمريكية في واشنطن عام 2019، والقمة الدولية للمكتبات في البندقية عام 2019. ونشرت مقال بعنوان مكتبة المستقبل، صنع مكتبة تامبينس الإقليمية، في منشور صادر عن مؤسسة MSAO. ما بعرف. هي حاصلة على البكالوريوس والماجستير في التخطيط الحضري من جامعة إلينوي في أوربانا شامبين، ودرجة من أمريكا، ودرجة الماجستير في الإدارة العامة والخاصة من جامعة ييل. وأكملت برنامج تنفيذي لعلوم المكتبات من قبل جامعة نانينغ التكنولوجية في سنغافورة. اليوم رح تحكي معنا عن كيف نجعل القراءة والتعلم على اتصال وثيق وجاذب لأفراد المجتمع، من خلال إعادة التفكير بدور المكتبة في ظل الاضطرابات الاقتصادية وحتى الرقمية، وأهم عوامل النجاح تلبية الاحتياجات الفردية للتعلم، والتركيز على القراءة كأداة أساسية للتعلم مدى الحياة، ونموذج تي للتعلم الذي تتبناه المكتبة الوطنية في سنغافورة. رح أترك هلأ الحديث لكاثرين، وزي بعد تقديم تبعها كمان رح نفتح المجال للأسئلة. كاثرين, you can
Okay, I try this. Assalamu alaikum. So, thank you for staying back. I think I'm between you and lunch. I want to say that greetings from Singapore and from the National Library Board. We call it NLB. So my name is Catherine, and thank you very much for Ms. Valentina by introducing me in such nice words. It is a privilege for me to be here. And there's something that I want to share with you, which is about myself. You know, I was not trained as a librarian. I was a town planner. But I have taken on librarianship because of the calling. So I want to talk about NLB's journey today to make reading and learning relevant and engaging. So if I can have the slides. Okay, great. Okay. Where's Singapore? I think some of you guys have been there. But for those who haven't, let me just highlight. Singapore is a very small city-state in Southeast Asia. We have a population of about 5.5 million, which is about half the size of Jordan in terms of population. So English is our first language, but in all, we have 4 official languages representing the different ethnic groups. So this makes it quite interesting in terms of promoting reading in Singapore, because we need to promote in all 4 languages. So our approach in reading and learning is actually reflected in our latest blueprint. It is called the Libraries and Archives Blueprint 2025, or in short, we call it LAP 25. The challenges, anxiety, we all can feel it in our society, actually make NLB think deeper about how we can support 4 evolving roles. So today I'm going to talk about the first and the second role. Well, COVID has accelerated digitization. And I found out there is this piece of research. It says that for someone who is starting working, we can expect that the person will change the job 12 times in their lifetime. So we are not only talking about changing employment, changing employer, but changing their trade, just like me, to change from being a town planner to a librarian. So I feel that library can definitely play a role in terms of supporting lifelong learning and also help in building informed citizenry. So let me start off with the first role, which is building a learning marketplace. We live in a time of Google and internet, but I do believe there is a difference when it comes to active learning and information seeking. So in Singapore, libraries are well used and well loved. We have a reach of 65% of our population. So what does that mean is that in 1 year, 65% of Singaporeans has used the library at least one time. We believe that library can inspire individuals to learn and help them to achieve a sense of self-actualization. So we can see this triangle here is the Maslow triangle, but I think sometimes there is a misunderstanding about that, and when we look at it, we thought, oh, self-actualization, you only do it after you achieve the rest of the needs. And this brings to mind the question asked this morning, is reading a luxury? And I want to say, no, it's not. So although it's represented in this way, reading actually helps to develop creativity, imagination, and help us to be thoughtful and help us to be critical in our thinking. So actually it percolates all throughout. So I want to talk about the 3 elements of learning marketplace. They are platforms, learning pathways, and learning communities. You might be wondering, where is reading then? Where's reading? Well, reading is part of the learning pathways, and I will talk a lot more about that. I want to take this system approach to talk about promoting reading because we need to recognize we need strong platform. We also need to build strong learning communities. So platforms can take the form of physical or digital. So often we think about expanding our platform by increasing more touch points, like for example, having more libraries, or we expand our programs and our content. But I want to give an additional perspective. We can expand our platform by connecting various touch points of what I call hubs and nodes. So let me just explain. So in situation in Singapore, we have altogether 27 public libraries. And in fact, we are not thinking about expanding the number that much. The reason being that land is very scarce in Singapore. But we do have a program to revamp our library. In 15 years, all 27 libraries will be revamped. So on the picture on the left here, so you see this is called Sengkang Public Libraries, and it was revamped in 2017. We introduced a twins service. So who are the twins? Twins are children between age 10 to 14. They feel that they don't belong to the younger groups, nor belong to the older group. So we want to pay special attention to them. We created a dedicated space. We have a special collection. We bring in a very interesting program. And the picture on the right here, sorry, I'm not very good at this. Picture on the right here is really the Choa Chu Kang Public Library. It's the latest revamped library, reopened last year. The theme is sustainability. So you actually see that the children's section is an indoor reading garden. And we use augmented reality. So on top you can see, someone scanning and activated augmented reality. it brings back the tiger, the last tiger in Singapore. It was caught, I think killed in 1930. So I find that this is a very interesting way to really bring knowledge to life. So what I want to say is that physical spaces, they're important. They provide a conducive learning environment, but the value goes beyond function. In fact, they provide inspiration and they communicate to everyone that reading and learning, it deserves special attention, special arrangement. So for the digital hub, currently we have a NLB mobile app. We use it for reading, but really the plan is to transform it into what we call a learning GPS. So what does that mean? So we want to go beyond books. First of all, we need to take in learning content beyond books. So within NLB, we have a lot of heritage content, for example, old photos, speeches, broadcast content. So all this needs to be brought in. In addition, we also want to bring in partners content. Like, for example, from the higher learning institution, because they have a lot of good information to help learners to continue to learn. So the third aspect is about personalization. So traditionally, library focus on building a very strong search engine. You key in a keyword, it pulls out something very relevant. But increasingly, we need to think about recommendation. So recommendation needs recommendation engine, which we need to tap on AI. Now here, our approach is really not to replace librarians with AI, but instead tap on the expertise of librarians to train AI, because the collection is very complex. So in order to understand the collection, the machine to understand and recommend good resources, we need to train AI. So in addition to the physical hubs and as well as the app, we have something quite interesting we just introduced. We call it notes. So notes are really entry point outside the library. It's set up in everyday places, like for example, the shopping mall, the eating places, or even in the park for people to access NLB's content remotely. So we can see in the picture in the middle, it's this display is like a dining table. So it's being set up in a food court. So what happened is that users scan a QR code. They can then get to the curated e-resources, which has cookbooks, the heritage recipes, the old photos. So in this way, we want to be in people's places for them to explore what we have. So with these platforms, we want to connect them at the back end. So what is important is that the information is going to give us a fuller picture to understand the patron's usage and the habits. So, for example, if you search for the book A Promised Land by Barack Obama at home, and tomorrow you go to one of our branch library, what we want to do is that we are able to push you a notification to say, hello, the book that you search actually has a copy in this library. At the same time, we can also do things like, what are the upcoming programs? It's coming up in 1 hour's time at this branch, and I think you're interested in it. We are not there yet, but we are working on this project, so hopefully next time when I see you, I'll be able to tell you that, we have delivered this project. So the point is that regardless of where you are, we want to be able to connect with you seamlessly from online to offline. And most importantly, we want to be able to recommend to you something that is relevant. So let me go to the second element, which is learning pathways. And I want to explain the NLB's approach to combine reading and learning together. We develop our learning content and program using 8 learning themes. So you can see here. So in the past, actually, we focus more on reading. We focus on culture and maybe some skills development. So since last year, we actually formally expanded the learning theme. So now we have themes like digital, career sustainability, health and wellness, and science. So you might be wondering why these 8 areas? Well, they were chosen because of users' feedback, users are interested, and more importantly, we also feel that these are the future of Singapore. Reading is one of the themes. Now, by having it as one of the themes, we actually open up possibility. What it means is that reading need not be promoted as a standalone initiatives. It can be encountered all throughout the whole learning journey. The goal is to develop something called T-shaped learner. So let me explain to you what it is. So we want to develop T-shape so that everybody, when they start out, right, they can start out perhaps at a general level, try to understand and develop awareness, and we want to broaden them to say, maybe there are some other topics that you are interested in. But at the same time, you want them to go deep. After you've sort of like learned something, maybe they're interested in specific topics, and that's where the vertical T is like. Let me share with you how this applies using our sustainable learning framework. I know this slide has a lot of things, but I will explain to you. So first of all, this is the very top row here is actually the overarching outcome of sustainability, which is aligned to the Singapore Green Plan. And at the bottom, you see there are 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are the learning outcomes, 4 very specific learning outcomes, and below them are the specific topics. So if I just take one learning outcome is about encouraging curiosity, awareness, and love of nature. We have topics like to understand wildlife, the forest, the sea, the greenery, and the plants. So with this, right, there are so many possibilities in creating learning pathway. So for example, someone might have have gone for a program on green building, and this is a very important data point for us. From there, if there is an upcoming program on permaculture design and gardening, we will push to this user. And of course, along the way, if there is a workshop of sustainability living, we think this will be quite interesting because the person has learned a few things and maybe will be able to contribute to the project. So you also can see that from sustainability, it can, what we call, stack to the other learning theme. Like we have wellness, we have reading, so the journey will be expanded. Well, I think we all agree that learning is for life and reading is for life. So in NLB, our reading initiatives, it span across all the ages. We have a saying, we say from cradle to grave. It doesn't sound very good, but it carries the meaning. Our objective for promoting reading for different age group are different. So if I were to take seniors, for the seniors, reading objective is really to promote active aging with a focus on mental wellness and digital connectivity. So putting all this together, so this is how a learning pathway for a child might look like. So he might start off, like watching one of our videos on how to write short stories step-by-step guide. So with that, we want to recommend to him, hey, come, we have storytelling, we have dramatization, that might be something of interest to you. And of course, holiday is coming, just like the Showman Foundation, there's holiday camp. So there is this program on writing under the theme of the superhero in me. Extremely interesting. And of course, there is a signature event involving book bugs, and I would like to talk a little bit about that. So you can see that it's very proactive and very intentional to go and bridge from one topic to another topic with the idea that we continue to engage. Okay, let me go into some of the signature programs, starting with the children's program. This program are for preschooler and for the parents to encourage them to read every day. We give out a reading journal, so the green book on the left. So in the reading journal, there are 12 thematic calendar. So what does that mean? Maybe one theme is about school. Another theme maybe is about outing. Maybe another theme, it is about grandparents. So what happened is that for that month, we want to guide the child to read and record what they have read together with the parents, sort of follow the theme. And what is fun about this program is that we give a lot of stickers and coupons. So stickers are just for fun, and you can stick. You know what is coupon? Is that you see at the bottom, at the end of the month, there is a square for reward. So if the child has read almost every day, and he can negotiate with the parents, looking through our coupon, pick something he likes. For example, it's a movie night. It's an ice cream treat. So these are fun, very fun and, very cheap ideas, but it's fantastic. So parents love this idea. They take pictures of themselves and children reading, and they can enter a lucky draw. And of course, by rewarding children to read, they will continue to read even more. With the onset of COVID, we actually have done story time, I think just like the Showman Foundation as well. But what we have learned is that it becomes such an event to engage our partners. So we work with quite a number of partners. Like you can see in the middle circle is the Singapore Airline. We also work with the zoo as well as the Navy. So what's interesting is that they come and they wear the uniform and they tell stories relating to their job. And the bottom circle is really a collaboration with the Society of the Deaf. So they come, they tell story with sign language, and then of course we have the voiceover. But it's something very interesting because it goes beyond traditional storytelling, traditional storyteller. So we have received a lot of positive feedback, so including our Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong. So he posted on his Facebook page. At the same time, because of the outpour of community support, so many partners coming on board, we have received very good media coverage. Let me now talk about stacking. Stacking is like putting one on top of the other, stacking reading with learning. Our partners actually like this approach very much. We work with the National Parks Board. They take care of all the public parks in Singapore. They actually conducted 7 reading sessions with craft. And the whole objective is to teach children what to do when they encounter wildlife in Singapore. Okay, let me talk about bookbugs. I know earlier, I think I've given out some of the bookbugs card. One card actually is equivalent to 4 loans. So when the children borrow 4 loans, they get the points and they can get a card. It is actually a craze among Singapore children. We developed this, we launched it in 2016, and now we are into the 4th season. It's a collectible card game that promotes reading among children. What is heartening is that this particular game, actually it nudged infrequent reader. We call it non-readers to read. And we see a lot of boys, they have developed a positive attitude towards reading. So I talked about the kids borrow books and then they, get the points and get the cards from the dispenser. Of course, they can play the card game, but you see at the bottom here is what we call play off. Just now I talked about play off, right? It's a very big event. We see hundreds and thousands of children actually involving in play off. We did it before COVID. We are looking for an opportunity to bring back the physical play off. Not only we use the physical channel, but we are also in social media. What's interesting is that there's a lot of boys and girls, they go and make videos and post it on YouTube. We are quite impressed is that they are under 10-year-old and they can do all these wonderful things. So the last season of Bookbugs is called Rescuer of Story Lost. Well, we have this story about bugs disappearing, and we appeal to our young readers, come help us solve the mystery, what's going on? And we are very happy that as part of the story, we push out a newspaper. It's called Bugtopian, so you can see here. So this newspaper actually released the latest news about lost bugs so that the kids can, they can do activities, they can help to solve the mystery and find the bugs. And when they do that, they get extra points. So let me bring you to the land of book bugs. So it's very cute. I come back to the pathway. I want to say that the same concept actually applies to adults as well. So we have an example here, someone interested in reading as well as they're interested, I think this is a wrong slide, but it's okay. They're interested in terms of career development. So we actually have programs to reach out to adults to help them to develop, the love of reading. We know that adults are very difficult to reach out. This particular program called Librarians World is something that, it means a lot to me because I'm so proud of the librarians. They rose up to the challenge. They do the research, they self-direct the video, and they showcase their knowledge. So the videos actually talked about different genre of books. And after that, we put together a short videos in the infotainment style. So let me just play a very short clip. Oop. Oh, okay.
Self-help genre still has its critics. Self-help books are surrounded by perceptions that they have little to no effect on their readers. But should self-help books really get all that flack? Hi, I'm Patty, a librarian from Public Library Singapore, and I'm here today to defend the self-help genre.
So, we are very proud of them because, here we talk about different genre, and to a lot of people on the street, they might not know the difference. So, what is sci-fi, what is dystopian, what is mystery, and all of that. So we go into some of this detail. Now, let me talk about this particular program. It's called Reading in the Age of Distraction. It's something we introduced last year. Basically, we want to help people to focus in reading. And for this year, we are going to cover a few things: read to focus, read to connect, read to retain, and read to see. What is interesting about this program is that, we try to connect with users using something that is very current about the digital age, So we bring back reading to say, what are some of the benefits? Our high key events for adults reading promotion is something called Read Fast. So last year, the theme is called Reboot because we all feel stuck because of COVID. What we want to do is to help people to think positively and reboot. We curated 12 titles to bring out some of these interesting ideas. So what we have done is take ReadFest to the park. So we have set up this experiential literary trails that someone can scan a QR code and interact with a digital story. So how it works is that we have this story called Jerry the Celery Man. And by scanning the QR code, the user can go into this chatbot and interact with Jerry. The whole idea is to rescue Jerry from his monotonous life. How is it relating to learning, to reading? So the 12 curated reads, essentially we pull out quotations. We actually provide links so that the user can quickly go and borrow the books. We also have a program called Read for Books. It appeals to someone who wants to do good. So for every 10 people who read for 15 minutes, one book is being donated. Last year, we have seen this amazing participation. We have about 110,000 people participated. It's done online. So in fact, not only the participants are from Singapore, we also have someone from overseas. And I would like to extend an invitation to all of you to join us for this Read for Book program this year. That will be in August. Apart from doing good, we also have something for the community. We call it Big Book Giveaway. As the name suggests, we give away pre-loved books to the community. It's a very big community event, and we run it over 2 days in the park and in the shopping mall. Lastly, let me just talk about one story. This is an initiative for us to promote reading in mother tongue. So what we do is that we select a short story, either in Tamil, Malay, or Chinese. We translate it to the other languages. We use local author because we want to celebrate Singapore literature. And we have done 2 stories so far. The first one is called Dharma's Chariot. It's about a Tamil story with an Indian merchant facing a moral dilemma, and it is set in Singapore in 1960. The second story is a Malay story called Razi. It's about a mother's struggle with whether to use traditional healing for her son who has special needs condition. So the whole idea is really to have something to strike conversation. Something common can be used, and we can engage people regardless what kind of language that they are comfortable with. Reading can be a tool to promote informed citizen as well. So under this role, our objective is to nurture thoughtful nation. We spend a lot of time online, yet research shows that I think we are consuming less news. We want to help to construct a healthy environment to encourage our lazy brain to burst out of the echo chamber. So we are doing it by putting together 2 of our programs, the National Reading Movement and SURE, which is our info literacy program. So the new product is a mashup product called Read to Be Sure. We want to promote thoughtful and deliberate reading, and we choose themes that actually lend itself to discussion. They are different perspectives. So for example, we have something on fast fashion to try to debate whether we should consume fast fashion. What's the implication on the environment? What's the implication on the economy, etc. Recently, a few months ago, we actually pushed out this particular program is to talk about how do we filter out the truth about the Ukraine war. What is true, what is not true. So we also borrowed the T-shaped concept for this particular program. So to go broad, we use bite-sized content, for example, videos and comics to engage. To go deep, we have learning packages that is linked to a wide range of resources to inform, and we also have debates. We have conversation inviting experts and individuals from different walks in life. So let me now go to a very interesting topic. This is the third component. It's about learning community. Learning communities are the powerhouse of learning because they really bring out the joy of learning. Essentially, there are two types. Number one is the reading club, and the second one is what we call the interest group. Well, they're very passionate to come together and learn from each other and to give back to the society. Reading club is not new, but what we have done is really to encourage them to, number one, open up the membership because they cannot keep all the fun to themselves. And the second thing is to create content. So let me just share with you some examples. So the first example here is called New Shoot. It's a Chinese reading club where the librarians, the school teachers, and booksellers come together. They curate good reading books, Chinese books for children. This is very useful for parents in Singapore because we bring in a lot of Chinese books from China, and the level is a lot more advanced than us. The second club is called Nature Book Club. It is started by a teenager, and she brought in her friends from other climate organizations to use reading to talk about environmental issues. The third example is called Comic X Nature. I want to illustrate 2 points. Number one is about a hybrid interest group. So we can see that this sits in both reading, which is comics, as well as sustainability. So using this, we can actually convert some of the comics fans to learn about sustainability, and likewise the other direction as well. The other aspect I want to talk about is about promotion. So for this particular group, they come out with a compilation of comics. We help to publish them into a book. And every year we have an open house. It's an open house for recruitment for new members, as well as to help the teams, the group to do their networking. Okay, I've talked about 3 elements: platform, pathways, learning communities. And of course, in this journey, NLB has learned a lot, and I think I would like to conclude with a few learning points to share with you. I put them under internal and external, starting with the external. I think the most important thing to run a successful reading promotion is to understand the user's need. And in fact, I think it is so important. We need to go beyond just broad age group, but needs to have finer groups, as well as going down to the individual to understand their need. The second point is about sustaining learning engagement. Here, I think earlier I talked about the whole learning journey. We need to know that, okay, it's not just a one-time engagement. When someone, we engage them, we need to be mindful, are they a new person, or is it something that we have engaged them previously? We need to keep thinking about what's the next step. The next point is about building internal competency. So in the case of NLB, we need to build domain knowledge in some of this new learning focus area. For example, for digital, actually it took us about 4 years to have a small team of 4 people who are aware of the industry trend, who can build partnership, as well as who understand our collection. And finally, to cultivate an innovative mindset, we piloted in small scale, test the market, and we know some of these ideas will fail. But what is important is whatever small success we have, we celebrate and we think about how to scale them up. So I want to conclude by saying that it's important to have this alignment and buy-in internally. We want to excite everybody so that they can see how success will look like in the future, but at the same time, we are being honest to say it will take time to get there. But the willingness, the agreement, as well as the first few baby steps, to me, is absolutely crucial. So I want to thank all of you for your attention, for hearing me, and I really want to wish you success in building a reading nation.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Your model is really amazing. أظن إنه زي ما شفنا التجربة تبعت سنغافورة بتختلف شوي عن تجربة كولومبيا، وخصوصاً إنه المكتبات كلها تابعة لمجلس تابع للحكومة، والحكومة بدها تزيد نسبة التعلم أو التعلم المستمر بسنغافورة، فعم بيشتغلوا بطرق مختلفة. بدي أفتح المجال هلأ للأسئلة لأي حدا عنده أي سؤال. تفضلي هون. They're gonna ask you questions now, okay?
Okay.
يعطيكم العافية.
تقدري بس تحكي اسمك والتم.
اسمي هناء أبو الشارب، معلمة حكومية بمدرسة القسطل. Thank you Catherine for this. بس عندي استفسار. الآن أنا بعرف إنه سنغافورة مرت بتجربة ريادية في التعليم، يعني قبل كانت يعني كدول شرق آسيا، خلينا نحكي من الدول المغمورة، لكن تجربتها في التعليم كانت من تجارب ريادية وسمحت لسنغافورة أنها تطفو على السطح وتكون من الدول يعني المجتهدة في التعليم واستثمرت في قطاع التعليم. سؤالي، هل كان مجتمع سنغافورة مجتمع داعم لهذه الخطوة الحكومية الهامة، أم أنه واجهتم صعوبات وتحديات في البداية، بلكي أنه استفدنا كمجتمع أردني من ذلك؟ لأنه بمجتمعنا بدنا كثير لحتى مثلا نعيش مثل هيك تجربة ونغلب التحديات الموجودة على أرض الواقع. فهل كان المجتمع داعم أم أنه في تحديات واجهتكم مع المجتمع؟ شكرا.
مين كمان كان في حدا رافع ايده؟ تفضلي.
يعطيكم العافية. كان
اسمك بس؟
اسمي ربا أبو قاعود. حكت عن القراءة ثم التعلم ثم الثقافة. بتخيل إنه إحنا بالأردن ما بنشوف مثلا معنا كلمات مفتاحية، بنشوف الرواد شو بيطلبوا، فبتخيل هاي تحدي أو مشكلة عم نواجهها، وما عم نسأل الرواد شو الأسلوب اللي مناسب لهم حتى نوصل المعلومة لهم. في أسلوب بالتسويق بنستخدمه اللي هو word of mouth، إنه كيف أنا بدي أخلي المستفيد اللي بنستخدمه هذا بالتسويق كزبون، بس أنا بدي أستخدمه كمستفيد اليوم. كيف أستخدم هذا الكلمة أو أستخدم المستفيد حتى يسوق لي المكتبة بطريقة كيف هو بيشوفها، لأنه بده يسوقها لأصدقائه، بده يستخدم الكلمات المفتاحية نفسها اللي بتناسب نمط حياته. فبدي أشوف كيف تجربة سنغافورة كيف تعاملت ككلمات مفتاحية، أو مش ككلمات مفتاحية يعني ككلمة، وإنما يعني كمضمون أو كمحتوى، كيف خاطبت الجمهور وكيف حققت نسبة عالية من المستفيدين خلال فترة عملها بالفترة الأخيرة. شكراً.
في حد عنده كان سؤال هون؟
Hi, my name is Ahmed Murad. I am from الحميد Showman Foundation in the public library section. And first of all, thank you for this amazing presentation. My question is regarding the demography of Singapore and about the fact that it has 4 languages as main languages. Does it make an obstacle in your strategic plan to encourage reading with people having 4 languages? And that's my question.
تفضلي. بس
جامعة الإسراء. سؤالي يمكن شوي خاص في أنا. بدي أسأل، هل هناك برامج داعمة لذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة من أصحاب الإعاقة الذهنية سواء بسنغافورة أو حتى عندنا بالأردن؟ يعني كان التركيز كتير على الأطفال أو اليافعين أو ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة من الإعاقات العادية، لكن هلا في عندنا انتشار كتير كبير لذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة من الإعاقة الذهنية، سواء كان بطء تعلم أو صعوبات تعلم شديدة. فإحنا بحاجة إنه يكون في برامج أو مبادرات لدعم هاي الفئة من الأطفال أو من اليافعين حتى. شكرا.
تفضلي.
أنا ريم شموت من مكتبة درب المعرفة عبد الحميد شومان. كان صراحة سؤالي عن كيف كمكتبة عززتوا دور الأهالي في تشجيع القراءة لأطفالهم، يعني كيف كان دور بين المكتبة والأهل؟
في حدا هون كان رافع ايده؟ اوكي. كاثرين.
Okay. Let me start out with the first question, going by the sequence. What kind of difficulty, or how are Singaporeans receiving all this, reading promotion ideas and the role of the library? I want to say that actually we are quite lucky. I think the library's board started in around 1990, but before that, we already have library. I think many of you know that I think Singapore focus a lot on meritocracy and education. And I think because of that, to the parents, I think they see there is a role to help children to learn. And I think I'm very grateful about that, because even if the starting point is that, they want to learn so that they can do better in school, but it is a decision, it's a very important action that the parents have taken. And I think over the years, they realized that, when they take the children to a library, once every 3 weeks, because the loans is for 3 weeks, so once every 3 weeks, for say 12 years, it's a very good experience for the family. Everybody does that. And over time, actually parents also borrow books. So in a way, I want to say that this is a very good foundation we have. But what is important is that we need to make sure that we don't lose this tradition. We are a little bit under siege because of COVID. You see what happened with COVID is that, with family with young children, they get a little bit worried about taking the children out. We have seen a drop in our visitorship by about 1/3, by about 30%. But slowly, I think it's recovering. So I want to say that we have a lot of support from the public. But having said that, what is important is that I think parents have to see the joy about reading, the joy even in the children's, right, when they take the children to come to the library. The second question, it's about word of mouth and how do we do promotion. I think that's my understanding. So again, we have very strong family practice. And to a certain extent, if I remember correctly, for school-going children, we touch about 80% of the cohort. They come to the library on a regular basis. So that's very important. Now, what happened with the 20%? Because we always have the minority. For whatever reason, the parents are busy, they have other priorities, and the kids might not come into the library. So what we do is that we have a program. The librarians go down to the school, and every quarter, every school will have a librarian's visit. We bring a lot of library books, few hundred, for what we call mass borrowing. So actually the children, they can borrow books when the librarians go down. And when the librarians go down, they conduct a reading session. So they talk about stories, they tell stories, and sometimes the authors also come down. So that is very important because we realize that there is still the 20%, we need to reach out to them. I have a question about the 4 official languages, whether it is difficult to promote. I need to be very, very honest with you in this question. It is difficult. There are 3 mother tongue languages, Chinese, Tamil, Malay. So I think, to be very honest, I think most of us in Singapore, I would say the adults and the children's population, we are a lot more comfortable in English. We learn the mother tongue language in school, but again, because increasingly it's not being used at home, so it gets a little bit difficult. So from NLB's perspective, it's important for us to support and develop love for learning of all 4 languages. Again, we have to rely on programming. We have to do something, really encouraging the children to read for fun. And I think we need to also hold the hands of the parents as well, because sometimes parents, I hate to say it, they don't even know the mother tongue language themselves. So it is difficult. So it's a challenge. We are working on it, and hopefully, we can sort of stem the decline. I think that's the reality. there is a question about persons with disability. We do have inclusive programming. Currently, I want to say maybe in a region, we have about a few times of inclusive programming for persons with disability.
She's focusing specifically on mental
illness.
Mental illnesses
maybe it's intellectual disability.
Yeah.
So we have that. So actually, children or persons with disability usually is on a spectrum. There are more severe cases, there are milder cases. And I think we focus largely on the medium to the mild case. I think the severe case, we need to work with specialists. So we have inclusive program. And something very interesting, and I want to share with you, we are building a new library. It caters for persons with disability, and it's going to take an inclusive, integrated approach to integrate with the rest of the user. And what is important is that we're going to do a lot of public education. In fact, I just sort of gone through some of these ideas with my team of staff, saying, what do we need to focus on about etiquette? Actually, the etiquette is for all of us able-bodied. So what happens when there is, let's say, a child who has a meltdown? What is the response? So we have to come up with some pointers and hopefully educate. So the first thing is do not stare. We don't want to stare at the child because it really gives a lot of stress. And the staff will be trained to say they come and render support. As part of the development of the space, we have places called the calm pot. The calm pot is essentially, as the name suggests, right, it's an enclosed space, small little enclosed space. It helps to calm down the child. It has soft padding inside because sometimes when a child goes into a meltdown, they get a little bit agitated. So I think we are going to go on this journey. This library is opening end of this year. In fact, as we speak, we are planning and we are thinking very hard. It's something new. How are we going to do it, right? The last question is about the role of family. I want to say that is very, very important. There's a lot of study. It shows that actually the role model of any family members when it comes to reading is very important, is crucial. So in fact, I think there are research data that shows that, you know, if the parents actually read books or they read in other format, it actually goes down and say, okay, how about read newspaper, read book, read magazine? The more formats the parents read or the caregiver reads, the child will find it interesting. They will follow suit. So there are research data. So the role model is so important. In fact, one of the things personally, I feel that is it's a threat to that. You see, in the past, people buy physical newspaper. I don't know in the case of Jordan. Like in Singapore, almost like majority switched to digital newspaper or they stop subscribing. So we don't have the daily physical newspaper. So what happened, at least in my case, when I grew up, as well as other people that I know of, the physical newspaper sits on the dining table. So when you sit down, and basically that's when you read. And when you read, you talked about it. So things like that is actually very, very important. It plays an important role. But at the same time, there are changes to the society. But going back to the question, there's a lot of evidence. Reading models is the most critical.
One of the questions was also, how do you get the library patrons to promote the library or volunteers to talk about the library other than just the employees? Let's say I go to the library and then I go and tell my friends about the library. Is there like, how do we speak the same language? Do you have like keywords that you use or a saying or something that I could learn to use or I could hear you using it or it's written somewhere. So when I
see.
go and see my cousin, my friend, someone, I go and tell them, oh, I've been at the library. You know, the library, like when you said the library, you read, you learn, and it leads to, let's say, culture, sustainability, something that the journey that took you for everyone to promote the library, not the employees, but others who are coming to the library.
Okay. We have this group. These are libraries volunteers. They are called Friends of the Library, FOL. So I wonder whether that is the word. But essentially what we want to do is to create a lot of volunteering opportunity in the library. So some of the libraries, like just now I show you some of the newly revamped library, we purposely designed part of the library for which is run by volunteers. What does that mean? Is that actually the books are not shelved by the staff. The books are shelved by volunteers. And the volunteers adopt the shelves and they curate the books as well. You know, sometimes you have book recommendation at the shelf end. And they are also trained to help to manage customers' question. So that's one role. But increasingly, we realize that the success of getting people wanting to volunteer is to create a lot of roles. So just now we talked about storytelling, you know, the video storytelling. We also have what we call, it's a digital volunteerism. So we have some of our heritage content, like old photos. We have this crowdsourcing portals to ask people, help to describe what is in this old photo. So maybe this old photo is no longer exist, but this person say, oh, this used to be the Elizabeth Walk. It is today's this place. And they say that, okay, maybe like in a particular year, some events happen. We do crowdsourcing. And the kind of volunteerism is that you can do it digitally. You don't need to be like, you know, go down to the library. There are also other dimensions. We are also engaging experts. So one of the very fun idea I have when it comes to teenagers, we do something for their graduation. So for the class graduating, we actually bring in experts to become their mentor. So maybe, you know, I have Miss Valentina here. She is she is in charge of the library. And then I have someone who is running a science institution. I have someone, let's say, for example, is an artist. So these are volunteers. They come in, they become human library. And we set up this graduation day for which I think the kids can talk to different professionals to really understand, hey, what is it like, right? And it's roles like that is good to engage volunteers because I think we all have a job. And sometimes we also want to see and say, okay, you know, how can I use my knowledge about my job to give back to the society? So I think that question, we might not have the code word, but our direction is to grow volunteers and using different kinds of opportunities.
Great, thank you so much. احنا بدي يعني ما ضل عنا وقت عن اوكي المفروض كنا نخلص الساعة 2:15 صارت أو حتى 3 إلا ثلث، فما رح أقدر أخذ كمان أسئلة. بدي أعتذر منكم، بس بدي باسمكم أشكر كاثرين على البرزنتيشن تبعتها وعلى الملاحظات أو الانسبيريشنز اللي أعطتنا إياهم. كتير برامج عندهم كانت رائعة وهي رح تكون موجودة هلأ كمان معنا، فأي حدا عنده أي سؤال لإلها بتقدروا تسألوها إياها اليوم. شكراً.